are going with the quattro de hier, van Lahore, die gaat erop vastdoen, en met het helemaal van het festival, en dan komt Sadi, en hij
Welkom allemaal, dit is alweer tyd vir nog 'n episode van Die Losgemaal. En natuurlik, Hein is hier langs my, nie heeltemal nie daar onderkant in George, maar soos julle kan sien, sit hy so half langs my. Hein, hoe gaan dit my vriend?
Hi Jacques, lekker man. Die Sharks het natuurlik nog 'n naalbyt nederlaag gelei die naweek. So soos ek elke week sê, dit lyk positief, maar jy sien dit sal lekker wees om vir 'n slag 'n bietjie 'n oorwinning deur te trek, maar nou ja, dis daarom ons nou net oefenwedstryd hierdie soos ons sê.
Ja jong, ek weet nie wie moet julle eintlik blameer nie, want Rasta het julle amper daar gered om die game te call met so 5 sekondes op die klok nog. Toe kom AJ Jacobs en hy sê nee chom. So ek weet nie, lyk my AJ is 'n leeu man. So ja. Maar ja,
Jacques, jy moet net onthou die Sharks speel nooit vir 'n draw nie, weet ons is nie so bulle nie man, ons vat nie gelyk op nie.
Wel ons het 100 minute gespeel en ons het julle gewen. So I know ons beweeg maar eerder aan voor ons, jy weet, ons wil nie jou naam skandelik hierso nie. Maar anyway, ja, daar is nie eens 'n woord nie. Soos natuurlik het almal gesien, ons het vanaand 'n lekker gas hierso en so half in Hein se taal, jy weet, so ja, ons sal maar 'n bietjie sien hoe gaan die aand. Ons het 'n paar lekker topics om oor te praat. Voor ons wegskop daarmee, kom ons begin vir voormalige losskakel van die WP, Anton Chait. Hoe gaan dit met jou meneer?
Goeienaand Jacques, dit gaan baie goed, dankie, van 'n warm Kaapstad.
Ja, lekker man, hier is dit baie koud in Johannesburg en môre is dit amper winter by ons. So ja, Anton, is lekker om jou vanaand te hê en ons sien uit om jou beste Afrikaans te hoor. Maar ja, ons kyk maar hoe gaan dit daarso. Anyway, manne, daarso is groot nuus wat gebreek het so, ek sal nou nie sê 'n paar minute terug nie, maar in die laaste uur of wat. En dit is natuurlik die groot nuus van Britse en Ierse leeu's. Die manne het gesê, nee, hulle wil Suid-Afrika toe kom. Ons toer nie by die huis nie. Mense kry niks sulke dinge nie. So ja, hoe voel julle oor hierdie goeie nuus?
Anton, ek gaan Jacques, ek dink vir my die groot ding is man, dit was net nodig om 'n besluit te neem, jy weet. Ek dink either way mens kort net 'n besluit hierso, mens voel jy weet dit was up in the air die hele tyd en 'n mens wil net weet waartoe dinge gaan, so dit lyk my half ek dink wat hierdie ding gesê het was nie baie spesifiek nie, was nie baie in detail nie, maar ons weet net dat die idee is hulle sal graag eerder Suid-Afrika toe wil kom. Die ander opsies is half nie lewensvatbaar as mense dit so kan sien nie. So is nou net 'n geval van hoe gaan die toer lyk, jy weet, hoe gaan die skedule lyk, hoe gaan die skare situasie lyk. Ek dink ons kan amper verseker sê ons sal nie 100% skare hê nie, soos op hierdie stadium tussen, jy weet, gaan daar 'n tipe 50% een wees of gaan dit niks wees nie, maar dit lyk my die ander opsies is ten minste van die tafel af op hierdie stadium en ons kan aanbeweeg, maar ja, as ek sê dit is net belangrik vir jy weet uitsluisel, maar ek moet sê ek is jy weet ek voel so tussen twee kampe op die oomblik. Ek dink nie jy weet 'n Britse leeu's toer soos jy weet wil noem by hulle in Engeland sou die slegste idee gewees het nie, jy weet. Ek dink dit sou iets heeltemal nuuts gewees het, dit sou iets anders gewees het as hulle goed vroeër ons kon uitsorteer en jy sou 'n vol stadion gehad het, jy weet. Is dit dalk beter om 'n vol Twickenham te hê as om 'n leë Ellis Park te hê, jy weet. Ek dink ek sal amper gaan vir die vol Twickenham. Ek weet nie wat Anton voel daaroor nie.
Ja, jy weet Jacques, dis net oor 100 dae tot die eerste leeu-wedstryd. So dit was baie belangrik dat hulle 'n besluiting vat. En ek is baie bly dat dit so gemaak het. Ja, jy weet Jacques, net 'n klein storieetjie. In 1974 was ek by die toets op Nieuweland as 'n klein laaitie. En ek het vir die Springbokke daar gesien speel teen die leeu's. En van daardie dae af het dit baie it made a mark on me. I remembered that series from a little boy in 1974. I think I was in grade 1, 9 years old or something, and I went to the test at Newlands. It was just unbelievable. Gareth Edwards, Phil Bennett, J.J. Williams, J.P.R. Williams, Mervyn Davies, J.P.R. Williams, Marty Mouse McLachlan. I mean, those were legends. I was privileged to see the best rugby players in the world play. So ja, ek is baie bly dat dit gaan voortgaan, maar ek weet dat jy weet Rian Oberholz se maatskappy, hulle doen die plaaslike organiseerders van die toer en hulle is they prepared for 0 spectators to 50,000 spectators. So they've looked at 4 different versions of the tour here, where you have 0, 25%, 50% or 100%, and they're ready to accommodate all 4 versions of the tour.
Anton, as a matter of interest, if I can ask you, I'm sorry, ek wil net gou vir Anton vra. How much of a role did that 1970 tour play in your life as to becoming a rugby player? Just out of interest, now that you mentioned it.
You know, dankie vir daardie vraag. I'll try and answer in Afrikaans. Van kleins af het my oupa vir my na Nieuweland toe gevat as 'n klein laaitjie, 4, 5 jaar oud. En ek was baie lief vir rugby van daardie dae af, want daar was 3 klubwedstryde op die A-veld op Nieuweland en daar was 2 op die B-veld. En ek het na albei 5 van daardie wedstryde probeer kyk op 'n Saterdag. En ek het al die spelers se name geweet in al 10 spanne op 'n Saterdag. So not only the Lions tour, but before that, Jacques, you know, I was watching club rugby and Western Province rugby from when I was 4 or 5 years old. So rugby's always been in my blood. I love the game, and I study the game, and I try and learn from it. By the way, Jacques, Gary Gold's going to be very, very excited about this announcement, because you know USA are playing South Africa in a friendly before the Lions series. So that means that the USA team are going to come to South Africa as well now, and not go to the UK, where they were going to play South Africa and the Lions in friendlies.
Well, that would be a first, I think.
Yeah. I don't think USA have ever played South Africa in South Africa.
Yeah. Brian, wat wil jy gevra daarso Nana?
Yeah, Anton, you're welcome to answer in English, but I'm just going to stick to asking them in Afrikaans. So just in terme daarvan as geen Britse toeriste kan oorkom nie en hulle moet op daai jy weet zero contingency gaan, kom ons sê daar's geen fans in die stadion nie. Voel jy nog steeds as jy die 2 opsies te mekaar moet vergelyk, jy weet vol stadion, expat Suid-Afrikaners in Engeland, die Engelse skare wat natuurlik, ek meen is die eerste keer en die enigste keer wat hulle die Britse leeu's op eie bodem sal sien, jy weet, vol stadions in Engeland teenoor geen toeskouers in Suid-Afrika en geen toeriste, is dit nog steeds, jy weet, meer voordelig vir Suid-Afrika om daai B-opsie te vat wat hulle blykbaar nou gaan doen?
Baie goeie vraag, Hein. Ek was nie teen die toer in Engeland en Ierland, Skotland, Wales, want soos jy sê, daar sou toeskouers by die gronde gewees het, dink ek. Dit was ook finansiële advantageous for, I think, the South African Rugby Union, because the British government underwrote the tour, which meant that you were guaranteed, whether there were 0 spectators or full stadiums, you were guaranteed the financial return on the tour. Nou in Suid-Afrika praat hulle van 6 biljoen rand influx into the economy, but that was assuming that the British tourists would come out here and inject much needed cash into the economy. But it's going to be strange to watch a British Lions South Africa test match with no spectators, if that's going to be the case. So to answer your question, I think the British option was a better option all round, in terms of atmosphere at the grounds, and we're going to watch it on TV anyway.
No, that's true. But let's hope Sorry gets something right, and even if they get 50% or even just 25%, but let's not be negative. Let's try and be positive with the news that we've just had, and let's see.
Let's
like
get some vaccines,
Sorry?
Let's try to get some vaccines done here in the country, so people
can that too. We've got 100 days, so Cyril, get those injections pumping. Anyway, guys, we're going to talk about Western Province, obviously, with, Anton, you've had some close relations to Western Province Union. Just as a little bit of background, Anton was, I think, 2018 and 2019, you were the president of Villages Rugby Club, and you were, I mean, you stood down in, I think, 2020, you didn't make yourself available for re-election.
That's right. Yeah.
You've obviously been in the circles, and you're still in the circles, because obviously you know the guys that deal with this stuff on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Western Province. It's been the talk for the last, let's say, at least 6 months proper, and it doesn't get better by the week. It just seems to get worse, and when you think it looks better, then it just gets worse. I think the only good thing these days is Damian Willemse re-signing and 1 or 2 other guys. You know, that's about as good as it gets at the moment for a province supporter. But from a business perspective, things aren't going well, and so much so that Saru is being pulled into, you know, trying to resolve stuff because it's not happening with, you know, the current president and, you know, Zalt Maree, who's obviously been a hot topic of late. What is your take on what's going on there?
Jacques, I'm very concerned as a former Western Province player, coach, and a club player, and somebody who's been involved in club rugby. I'm very concerned, and I'll tell you why I'm concerned. Because the Stormers and Western Province brand is a strong brand, as you saw. Marco Mazzotti didn't show interest for fun. He believed in the brand, and he thought he could take the brand to the next level. So the brand is very, very strong. However, every week that Western Province appear in the newspaper for the wrong reasons, that brand's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And the executive and leadership of Western Province seem to be doing very little about it. Now, we heard that Damian Willemse signed, and we heard Skara and Tabeni signed, and Stephen Kitshoff signed, okay? But Jacques, the numbers that Western Province are having to pay these guys over market value is extraordinary. Now, my question to you and to Hein is, if you directors of a company and you paying your employees 20 to 25% over and above market value, okay, isn't that equivalent to reckless trading? Okay, because you're not paying them more than you can really afford, okay, and come 3, 4, 5, 6 months time where you don't have an equity partner and your sponsors have run away and you don't have the income to pay these players, what's going to happen then? Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but surely the responsible thing is to pay these guys market value and not overpay them. And if the truth be told, that's why one of the reasons I believe Damian Willemse didn't go to the Bulls, because the offer he received from Western Province was so good and so attractive financially that not even the Bulls, with Johan Rupert and Patrice Motsepe, were prepared to up their offer. So to answer your question, I'm very, very concerned about what's going on here. And in fact, you know, a few clubs recently wrote to SA Rugby asking them to intervene, because it's just relentless. The negativity in the media and the criticism of the union is relentless.
But Anton, it's also such a catch-22, and I see tongue-in-cheek Dane Galley came in there and said you're trying to make his work harder with the player salaries, and dit is juist die ding, dis wat kom eerste, because now you're trying to keep the likes of Stephen Kitshoff in the Cape. Obviously you're trying to, you know, solidify the brand, almost get some results, and that way try and you know, or at least keep that interest and then get your investment partners. But as you say, it's almost like at what cost, and it's not sustainable in the long term. You know, you're almost like you know, hedging your bets or putting it all into one channel, yeah, and saying, listen, we need to have success in 2 months, or otherwise we're not going to make it. You know, that's kind of the situation that you've got now. And jy weet, die ander kant van die saak is ook jong outies kan kyk na die Stephen Kitshoff checks en die Damian Willemse en sulke tipe goeders, en ja, jy kan miskien 'n paar top professionele spelers hou, maar wat van die level net onder dit? Jy weet, die ouetjies kyk op en ewe skielik is jy iemand wat 4 keer die bedrag kry wat jy kry, en dan ewe skielik val daai, jy weet, jou middeltipe speler uit, en jy het nie daai diepte nie. En ek dink dis die ding wat 'n WP nog altyd sterk gemaak het, is daai vlak van spelers wat net, en dit het miskien die administreers 'n bietjie lui gemaak in sekere tye, want dis die heeltyd, daar's net diepte en diepte en diepte wat deurkom, so jy kan bekostig om hier en daar 'n ouetjie te verloor, maar wanneer gaan die bodem uitval wanneer daai groot gros net besluit luister hier tot hier toe en nie verder nie, en soos Anton sê daar tot 'n mate, jy weet, ouens as die bulle kan miskien geld hê, maar jy het nog steeds 'n klomp ouetjies wat jy weet half glo in die hele filosofie van die bulle. So ja, jy het die geld wat hulle trek, maar daar's ook ten minste jy weet 'n bietjie 'n groter prentjie, en dit was nog altyd so vir WP, maar as jy sê op die einde as die ouens net deur rand en sent gehou moet word, gaan dit nie jy weet lewensvatbaar wees oor die langtermyn nie, want dan gaan die ouetjies op die einde gaan die budget uitran, en dis miskien waar ons weer teruggaan na Anton toe juis in terme van die finansies. Ons het juis nou net, ek dink dit was vandag wat die nuus uitgekom het, ek weet nie of dit dalk gister al gebreek het nie, was met Flight of die affiliaal eintlik daarso Dreamland wat hulle wil hulle geldjies terug hê, Anton. Hulle is nie gelukkig dat die ouens gedoen het wat hulle moes met die lening nie, en ons het gesien daar's nou al mosies van wantroue teen Zelt en al die dinge. Dit voel asof die House of Cards is besig om 'n bietjie te wankel.
Ja, dis 100% reg, Hein. Daar is 'n claim van Flight of Dreamworld, en hulle wil al 112 miljoen rand plus die 30 miljoen en die rente terug hê. En dit is baie ernstig wat nou gebeur het, want WP is in breach van die agreement wat hulle geteken het, en hulle wil nie voortgaan met die Nieuweland development nie, of die Brookside development wat in die oorspronklike ooreenkoms is, and what's actually more concerning, never mind the repayment of the loan and the development fee, etc., is if Flight then claim damages for potential profits that they've lost as a result of Western Province being in breach of this agreement. That's the big issue.
Kan ek jou net vanaf terugval? Ek meen die hoofrede hier as ons daar dink is, onthou die hele Flight ooreenkoms het half ingekom met die gelde wat WP Rugby geskuld het aan jy weet aan hierdie ander partye wat investe, daai Remgrow en daai tipe manne, en hulle het al gekom en dit alles op hulle self gevat en sê okay, jy weet hierso is dit om dit mee uit te sort, maar die teen daaroor is die sekuriteit was hierdie groot eiendomme. Dit was daai kamptige deal of the century wat self van gepraat het, en dit lyk my dit is nou nie besig om meer soos die deal of the century te lyk nie.
Ja, en hulle moes vir Remgrow en vir Investec terugbetaal, want jy kan onthou is dat die Investec ooreenkoms ook gebreek was deur Zelt en die WP executive. So jy's 100% reg. Flight of Dennis Vente en hulle het 'n mortgage bond geregistreer oor 11 eiendomme as sekuriteit. Nou hulle sit in 'n baie sterk en goeie posisie, want as WP nie die geld terugbetaal nie, dan kan hulle hierdie they can sell the properties, they can dispose of the properties to recoup their losses or the loan. So you're 100% right on that.
So Anton, also I think if you can just clarify for the viewers and stuff, I mean, we spoke about it off air, just to get a better understanding here that it's not so much so the professional side that's being affected here, but more the clubs, am I right?
Yeah,
if you can just give a bit of clarity on exactly where the repercussions are focused on here, if that's the right way of saying it.
So there's a company called Western Province Professional Rugby, PDY Limited, of which the Western Province Rugby Football Union is the shareholder in that company. And that shareholder consists of the 90-odd clubs, okay, which are amateur clubs. The agreement with Flight, because that Western Province Rugby Football Union, the amateur clubs, own Newlands and own Brookside and own Oranjezicht and own the various properties, that is the entity that entered into the agreement with Flight, not Western Province Professional Rugby, which owns the professional arm of the union, or runs the perfect. That's the entity of which Ibrahim Rasool is the chairman. Okay, and on that board of that professional arm, there's an equal number of independent directors, and then the Western Province Rugby Football Union can nominate directors to sit on that board, representing the shareholder. And that's why Peter Jooste and I think it was Munib Levy got asked to leave that board because they didn't follow the instructions of the union, and they got replaced with Ronald Bantam and some other chap, I forget his name, a guy from Paul Williams, I think. So there's a lot of politics, going on here, and vying for places and positions on that board. Yeah, but clearly there are two different entities here: the union, which is an amateur body, and Western Province Professional Rugby.
Anton, we've had Skalkberger here previously and talking, almost about the sadness of the whole situation, and I'm sure you've got similar thoughts, and it's almost like everyone can see the problem or saw the issue of Zalt at the head, and somehow he just kept steering them closer to the afgrond, as we say. But just from your point of view, we've heard this. It's pretty close now of SA Rugby even going to intervene or on the point of intervening. Do you think that that's pretty much the only way that things can get better is almost for it to just bottom out to get worse, but hopefully before losing properties and things like that? So it just becomes let's get administration in, and then hopefully maybe even a situation where a consortium of ex-players or something comes along and almost takes over the management or something like that?
Hein, look, I think similarly to what happened at the Kings, SA Rugby stepped in and put the Kings into administration and appointed their own management to run the Kings. Okay, where I think Western Province are in a different position to the Kings is, I think Western Province is a very, very strong brand, and we still have loyal supporters who will support the brand, be it Western Province or Stormers. So you've got to, the one point I wanted to make earlier is about the players and that we mustn't forget the sponsors, guys. We've got a fantastic sponsor in DHL here in the Western Cape. And part of the reason that the management and the coaches are so adamant that we must keep our Springbok players is because the sponsors are insisting on that. And I think, something like if we don't keep 80% of our Springboks, then we're going to lose our sponsors. So that's why they're bending over backwards to sign these guys at a premium. But coming back to your question, I think the sooner SA Rugby act, the better for Western Province and the Stormers. There's way too much infighting, politics, etc. going on here. There's this faction and that faction. And I'm afraid to say I can't see it being sorted out in the short term unless you get SA Rugby stepping in. There does not seem to be any light at the end of the tunnel.
How is this? You're telling us about Damian Willems, Stephen Kitsoff, these guys being paid more than what they should be, and that's not their fault. But how is this? Behind the scenes stuff, money talks, yes, we all know that. But at the end of the day, that boardroom issues and stuff, Saru taking control, and who knows what else is going on behind the scenes. How is that ultimately going to affect the players? Because we've seen what happened now recently, with Currie Cup and all those kind of things. They didn't do too badly, but you could see things weren't 100% right. And you have to wonder. Money only talks to a point, but the boardroom still has the biggest influence on what happens on the field. So are we going into a period where Western Province might be down in the dumps for some time, or do you think the players can look past this and just do the business?
Jacques, I can't answer that question because I really don't know what the current mood is in the camp, but the way they played against the Bulls over the weekend gives me a bit of hope, because it looks like the coaches have decided that they're going to go with a policy of youth, and it's probably going to be tough it's going to be difficult before it gets better, if that makes sense. So there's going to be a sort of and I think Dobber and his coaching staff, who I feel desperately sorry for. Can you imagine reading about this every week in the press and you trying to keep these players happy and positive and upbeat and coach them? Let alone the tea ladies or the admin staff in the offices who pay the salary, the human resources guys, etc. reading about this every week. It can't be a pleasant environment to work in, whether you're a player, coach, or whatever. But, you know, Damian Willemse made a decision, as Jake said, because he likes the lifestyle in Cape Town, etc., etc. And, you know, respect the guy for that. He's a very good rugby player. He's in demand. Maybe he struggled a bit at fly-off, but, you know, I think he's an outstanding rugby player, and I think he's a fantastic human being as well. And I think he'll be an asset to any team that he signs for, because he pulls spectators. He's that kind of player, you know. But yeah, it's a very, very difficult environment to be in, I guess, when you've been made promises for the last 18 months by the leadership in the union. None of your promises have come to fruition. You know, this property deal was supposed to make Western Province the wealthiest union in the world. You know, then the Marco Mazzotti equity deal was going to make us very cash rich. That never came off for various reasons, which was remarkable. I mean, there's hardly a queue of people queuing up to take equity in rugby unions in South Africa. So here comes a consortium and are prepared to pay $6 million. And Zalt can say that 40% was going to the clubs and 60% to the professional. It doesn't matter. It's 100 million rand more than what you had yesterday. So, you know, where would the Western Province Rugby Union be now if they had accepted Marco Mazzotti's offer and gone ahead with the deal? I know the Sharks are very happy. So, yeah.
Anton, that's exactly what I want to ask you now. We've saw this with MVM Holdings and Mazzotti's guys there, and dink jy dit is die toekoms van rugby? Ek jy was nou in die administrateurpos in die club setup en daai goed, maar as jy nou kyk na die professionele kant van sake, dink jy weet, ek dink dit was aan die begin, ons het al gepraat met Willem Strauss en daai ouens, dis natuurlik nie, jy weet, ideaal om daai 51% oor te gee nie. Natuurlik sit in ons natuur om te wou gehad het dit met eerder die 49% wees, maar dink jy dit is nou maar eenmal, jy weet, the price you have to pay is, jy weet, die Sharks het daai liquiditeit nodig, hulle het daai exposure globally nodig gehad en dat dit jy weet, wat die kool die sous werd is.
Like, jy moenie dink dat WP die enigste unie in die wêreld is wat finansiële probleme het nie. So ja, Hein, dit is it is the solution for most professional teams. And I'm sure that if Marco Mazzotti had gone to the Lions or to the Cheetahs or the Pumas or Griquas, they would have jumped up and down and said, where can we sign, you know? But Western Province is a unique animal because we've got 99 clubs that are a shareholder in the professional arm. And those clubs want control. They want control. They want to sit in the president's suite every week and watch the games and fly to the matches and have the perks and call the shots and decide, you know, what the makeup of the team should be and who the captain will, etc., etc. It's all about control in the Western Province. So they would rather not accept the $6 million and keep control than accept the $6 million and give away. But to answer your question, you can see worldwide, even the All Blacks are selling 25% of the brand. So yes, it's definitely going. I mean, the Six Nations sold equity. They did an equity deal. So I mean how fantastic has that competition been? Brilliant. So yeah, rugby's going that route definitely. But in South Africa, I'm not sure how many buyers there are for equity in unions. The Bulls have done a deal. The Sharks have done a deal. Let's see whether the Lions or the Stormers or Cheetahs can do a deal. I'd like to invest in the Cheetahs, I can tell you that. I think that's a good investment.
Before you do that, Anton, I want to ask you though, do you have any positive outlooks in regards to Western Province, regardless of what's going on?
Sure. I mean, the club setup here is strong. It's very, very strong. You know, we've got some outstanding clubs. You've got False Bay, you've got Marty's, you've got UCT, you've got UWC playing in the Varsity Cup. Good luck to all three of those teams, you know. It's my favorite competition in the world, the Varsity Cup. Love watching it. And we've got a very, very strong setup here. But I just wish that the clubs could all get along and all see the bigger picture. That a strong Stormers Western Province team means a strong union. and a financially viable union. But if you're voting in leadership with certain expectations and those expectations aren't happening, then you as voters need to accept that you backed the wrong horse. So do you understand what I'm saying? The clubs voted for the current leadership. The current leadership hasn't taken the union to a level where it should be. Now, what are those clubs doing about that?
From a player's perspective, any positive prospects coming up that you know of? Guys that are currently in the mix? Who are you positive about in the team at the moment, though, besides the guys that we've mentioned already?
Well, Jacques, let me ask you a question. Any team in the world that goes into a rugby match with Steven Kitshoff, Bongi Mbonambi, Frans Malherbe, JD Schikkeling stroke Marvin Orrie, Salman Murat, Nama Zaba or Marcel Tienersen, Ernst van Rijn or Peter Steph du Toit, and then number 8, Jean-Ro Augustus. I mean, I think my wife can coach that pack and they'll go and win rugby games. I mean, that is a quality. I mean, people would give their left arm to have a pack like that. I mean, that's a World Cup winning pack virtually. It's unbelievable. So yes, right. I mean, we don't need any more players. We've got enough players here.
So you rate that pack ahead of Dwayne Vermeulen and Marcel Coetzee, you know, anyway, we're not talking about the Bulls tonight. They're well represented here, and that's as far as we'll go tonight for
the problem
just
is
for Jake
Jake tells those guys they're better than the Stormers and they believe it.
Oh, well, it worked. So yeah. Anyway, on that matter, with for those that don't know, Jordan Chait, who's at the Sharks, is Anton's son, and I wanted to ask you this question. With you being obviously a staunch Western Province man your whole life, your son goes and plays for the Sharks now. Where's your weekly allegiance?
Well, it's 100% with the Sharks. Watching Jordan, yeah, 100%.
Is it just because? 100%. Is it just because of Zelt? Yeah, I said in the beginning.
Do you know, Jacques, in all honesty, I'm friendly with Zelt. I can pick up the phone and phone Zelt and he'll take my call and we'll have a good chat. We may agree to disagree on things. And I think Zelt fundamentally is a very, very good human being. But I think he's just been put in a position where he may be a little bit out of his depth and it may have been a bit too early. Also, don't forget that he inherited a very difficult position at Western Province. You know, whether we want to admit it or not, he did come into a situation where Remgro's debt was already there when he came into, you know, so it wasn't ideal for him. But his election promises, unfortunately, have not been fulfilled. And I think that's where he's under pressure.
As you can see on the screen, Angus, who coincidentally is the man who interviewed Zelt a while back, and Zelt got into deep, or not deep water, but hot water. And there were talks of this Dubai, was it consortium or something that they were talking about, or Zelt mentioned it with a lot of confidence. Do you know anything about that?
I know absolutely zero about that. I think in the same way our esteemed ambassador Rasul promised a CEO would be appointed, I think by the end of January. I think, or he said something you remember the Zoom press conference that stopped? He mentioned that there would be a new world-class CEO before the end of January 2021, and that hasn't happened. So, you know, I don't know about this Dubai investor. But no, I can't help Angus there. But I want to ask Angus something if he's listening in. I want to know if Mr. Murray knew that you were taping your interview with him.
I can tell you. I mean, he knew it. It was a planned meeting. So, but Angus is welcome to reply, and then I'll pop it on the screen, and then you can get it from the horse's mouth. Well, pen. Let's put it that way. Anyway, let's move on to some a bit more positive news. I think you've got something that you can say now.
Yeah, I just want to ask. Obviously, I mean, Anton is a rugby man through and through there. So, just in terms of the current move, I think I've asked all our guests lately this, and the South African rugby move of exiting the southern hemisphere, moving towards the north. Anton, do you think that was the right move, and it's going to have positive future repercussions for our rugby?
I think it's an outstanding move. I think if you watch the current Pro 14 and you watch the Six Nations, the quality of the rugby there, and you visualize a Western Stormers Leinster game on a Friday night at Cape Town Stadium, or a Sharks Munster game in Limerick or wherever they play in Munster, I think there's going to be some quality rugby being played, with challenges to both teams. Northern Hemisphere and South. The conditions are obviously going to play a massive role with the heat here and the cold there, etc. And I think it's going to be so much more interesting than the Super Rugby we had to endure towards the end. I wasn't a fan. I was a huge fan of Super Rugby when it was a simple competition, a Super 12 or Super 14. But when it went to Super 18 or Super 20, whatever it was, and we started these different, I've forgotten what they called those, where you had 6, 6, and 6, not franchises, you know what I'm talking about, conferences, and you lost track of who was winning what and who, I like to see the Crusaders playing in South Africa every year or every second year, and you knew what was going to happen, and you knew that the top 4 teams would go into a semi-final, and it was a simple competition. So I think, yes, it's great for rugby. I know that the Stormers management or Western Province are relying on this competition to inject more money into the union, because I think the TV rights is more favorable to South African teams than what Super Rugby was. And I think there's also the private equity firm, CDC, whatever they're called. I think there's an equity deal that might be happening on the Pro 16. So I think all 16 teams are going to benefit substantially from that if it does go ahead. CBC.
Anton, maybe just as from a playing perspective, we've obviously seen a heck of a lot of changes from the previous era, and then it's professional rugby and all that. How do you see just the movement of where rugby is at the moment? Do you think we've kind of gone there as going to the southern hemisphere, but as a spectacle, do you think rugby at this stage is a good product? I mean, we've seen in Australia they're actually battling for market share, against Aussie rules and rugby league. They really are having a tough time of it. Do you think there's it's going in the right direction, rugby, or is it getting the rules maybe too complicated, or what's your opinion there?
No, there definitely needs a rule change. Definitely. I'm very excited about Rassie's initiative now with this participation series, where ball in play is longer. And the changes in terms of the time constraints at scrums and kicking for poles and all that kind of stuff. I think that's been a real positive for the game. I'm not a fan of this contestable kicking game that we saw in the Currie Cup and the Super Rugby, and I'm enthused by what we've seen in the participation series. And I'm hoping that the momentum from the participation series will carry on into the Rainbow Cup and the Pro 16, and that the administrators who appoint coaches will give them the confidence to go out there and play entertaining rugby rather than a win at all costs. Because if you want to put bums on seats, we want to see the Fassies and the Nkosi's and the Yalpengsis running with the ball. We don't want to see them chasing contestable kicks, with respect. And if kids want to have heroes, kids want autographs from the heroes. And guys like Fassi and that have got talent. They are beautiful runners with the ball. Give them the ball. Give them the ball to run with, and you'll see spectators will come flocking to the stadiums, I believe.
Jock, ek wil net daar vir jou uitwys, ingeval jy het gemis het, Anton het al 3 die Sharks se agterste 3 daar genoem, né?
Well, we can also say David Creel and the Bulls wings have been fantastic. Curtly Orense and Stravino Jacobs,
Cornel Hendricks. Carry on.
Cornel Hendricks has been a revelation. That guy's been to me, he is just unbelievable. what he's done with his life and his rugby career. And you've got to give Jake credit for that, 100%. To give that guy the confidence and the opportunity, I mean, it's just incredible.
No, definitely. It's an amazing story. And I mean, I think we must definitely, we're definitely going to try our luck and see if we can get Cornell on the show. But yeah, let's see what we can do in that regard. Anton, you might not know this, but Heinz quite a staunch betting man. And so what I want to do is I want to actually ask you a question. If you were a betting man, and we with the teams heading to the north, you know, the South African teams with this Pro 16/Rainbow Cup, who would you put your money on at this stage of the game to do well, obviously?
So, Jacques, I mean, I could answer you straight away. I know what my answer is, and I'm going to tell you why. If you look at all four of the franchises, John Dobson's never coached in Europe, and none of his management team have coached in Europe. Okay, do you accept that? Cash van Rooyen and none of his management team, coaching staff, have coached in Europe or ever traveled to Europe with teams. I'm speaking under correction, but I think I'm right. Certainly, Sean and Brent Jansen van Rensburg and Dave Williams has had, but he's leaving, so he won't be traveling with the team to Europe, as far as I'm aware. But he's coached Bath and London Irish. I think he's had some experience there. Jake White has. Jake White's coached all over the world. Okay, he's coached Montpellier. He's played in the European Cups there, and he knows. So, based on experience of coaching, and then you look at his players, and you've got guys like Morné Steyn and now Marcel Coetzee, who plays for Ulster. Dwayne played for Toulon. So the Bulls look to me to be the best equipped from a player and coaching point of view. But yeah, so my straight answer is the Bulls would on paper certainly be the favourites.
Maybe before we know.
Okay, Jock, it was leading the witness.
Anyway, listen, I just you've touched on quite a few things now, and I think it's been a really interesting chat tonight. Especially, I think for any province supporter, I think they must be so concerned at the moment, and maybe even more confused because things are just not happening at the moment. But we've touched on the British and Irish Lions, which we're all happy that it's now coming to South Africa. And it's just a matter of now we're all waiting with bated breath to know whether we can attend the match or not, because that would be a super deal breaker at the end of the day. But like you said, most of us would probably be watching it on television anyway. But I mean, I've got Bulls tickets at this moment. And I don't mind if I can even just go to a Bulls Lions match. That would be awesome. I really can't be bothered about tests. They can give all the test tickets for all that I care to the British fans if they are going to be allowed to come into the country. That's another aspect that I suppose we got to look at. So, but then again, maybe on a positive note, if the British guys can't come, it means more South Africans can actually attend.
Well, 100%. Yeah, which
will be a good thing at the end of the day. You know, I think it will be the first time that there's more South Africans than British and Irish Lions supporters. So, but let's first hope that old Cyril, has a bit of a rugby heart in him, and he allows some fans to the stadium. But other than that, I don't know if there's anything more on your plate that you've that you want to ask Anton, or maybe.
No, I think I'm done there. I think it was very insightful. It was great having Anton. I think he's got some great technical knowledge there from Western Province specifically, but just his rugby knowledge in general was great. The only thing is, I think he forgot the other new news of this lately was Brendan Venter, of course, being linked to the Sharks there. So we've added a little bit of North knowledge there. Just so don't worry, Anton, we'll be in the mix.
I think Brendan's a wonderful addition to the Sharks coaching staff. I think he'll add a lot of value. I've got a very high regard for him. Very high regard. Yeah.
Just hope a lot of people have always said a lot about Jake, coming to a union and leaving. A lot of people forget that Brendan seems to do that also. So let's just hope he sticks around longer this time, because he's been with the Sharks before. So yeah, let's wait and see. And if I'm not mistaken, the
Did
next
he win
game,
the Currie Cup for the Sharks? He won the Currie Cup in 2013. He was the coach.
he
Remember
did.
Yeah.
He did
I
indeed.
think it was,
But
yeah.
next week, I'm not sure. I haven't looked exactly what day, but the next round and the last round of the preparation series, call it whatever you want, 2021 kickoff pools, whatever.
Sharks by 10.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Where are we playing?
Sharks
Are we
by
playing
10.
in Durban?
No, in Durban.
Ah,
Sharks
so
don't lose in Durban. The Sharks don't
Oh,
lose
they
in
don't?
Durban. No.
Okay, no, that's fine. We should have a follow-up on this discussion, I think, straight after the match, maybe even.
I
But
think
it's
Jake's going to
be
pick his under 21s. He'll pick his under 21s again.
Imagine we beat you with those in under 21s. So yeah. Anyway, Anton, it was so nice having you on the show. Had you before on loving the game, which was really nice. And for anybody that wants to get to know Anton more and find out about his playing career, because I'm sure there's a few guys sitting there and wondering, who is Anton Chait? No, Anton Chait is not Jordan Chait's father alone. He was actually a Western Province fly-off, and he's got a CV which I can't even show in the screen. So yeah, go and have a look at our episodes which we did during lockdown, loving the game, and it's on YouTube for anybody that wants to watch. And yeah, as always, Hein, it was nice having you alongside, and our regulars that watched with us. Nice comments coming through on the side here. Yeah, guys, it was really, really nice. Anton, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was one of our first. Hein, ek weet nou nie. Ek dink hierdie was dalk een van ons eerste Engelse episodes gewees. So, jy weet,
Jock, maar ek wil net daarso inkom en sê, we did do a little bit of English, but I think it was worth it. We always get a lot of players and ex-players and add an odd coach and something. But I mean, guys like Skalkberger Senior and Anton, it's nice to hear the insights. It's nice that they stay so involved with rugby and just have this whole different perception of rugby and keep their nose in it all and their finger on the pulse. So it was very insightful. So yeah, baie dankie en ek hoop almal het hierdie geselsie geniet vanaand. Ek is seker hulle het.
Baie dankie. Dit was 'n besondere voorreg vir my op jou show te wees.
Nee, baie dankie. Eer is ons inne. So yeah, I mean, and we've broken the mold, I think. So yeah, we'll probably have one or two in the future, well, not one or two, but quite a few more English guys pop along and see. So, I mean, why not? I think us Dutchmen know English better than the English know the Afrikaans language. So, hey, we're flexible in that regard. Anyway, Anton, stay safe.
Yes.
And are you still taking your morning swims?
Yeah, well, that's I actually, if you look, I'm actually in my costume here now. So, oops. If you look at, I've just come from Cork Bay, believe it or not. Rush back. Yeah, it was 37 degrees in Cape Town today, or something ridiculous.
Jesus.
So I went to swim I've just came back from the beach.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Oh well. Anyway, guys, it was so much fun, and there was a first on our show tonight. Someone showing off his costume for us. So yeah. Thankfully, it wasn't a puff speedo. So yeah. Anyway.
Cheers, Jacques. Thank you.
Have a nice evening. Stay safe. Look after yourself. See you on Thursday.
Bye.
Going met de Quattro hier. Van Lahore, die gaat erop uitzoeken. En met het nummer van de 16 bal. En dan wordt Sadi.